Thanks, Rob. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here today. This is an important and special day for the Philadelphia 76ers. We're excited to introduce our new head coach, Doc Rivers. Doc is one of the NBA's truly elite head coaches, and we're thrilled to have him leading our team. He's an NBA champion, a former Coach of the Year, and holds the second most wins amongst active NBA coaches, while ranking 11th all-time in league history. Over the past month, I led a thorough search for our new next head coach. I learned a lot about many talented coaches in our industry and had many productive conversations with a lot of candidates as I worked to identify which head coach would lead us the best. Doc stood out in all categories. He's a proven leader with one of the NBA's most accomplished resumes, and he's helped guide some of the best teams and brightest stars. As we prepare for the upcoming season, I believe Doc can help us unlock our full potential on and off the court. Ultimately, Doc and I share the same passion to bring an NBA championship, another NBA championship, to the city of Philadelphia. I also respect that Doc will use his voice to have tough conversations to what he can do to change and make a positive impact on society. Doc is a great fit for our franchise and our city, and I'm excited about what the future holds for him and us. We know there's still a lot of work to be done, but today marks a pivotal day for the 76ers organization. Finally, I want to thank Josh Harris and David Blitzer for providing the resources and support necessary to build our world-class organization. Now it's my pleasure to turn it over to the new 76ers head coach, Doc Rivers.
Thank you, Eldon. I'm not going to say a lot right now. I'm going to pretty much open up, but I just want to say how thrilled I am to be here. This is a historic organization, an historic town that I want to be a part of. I love the pieces here. I love what we have to work with. And with Elton, I am looking forward to turning this into a championship team. I really just can't wait to get to work.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Elton. We're going to get started here with Keith Pompey. Keith, if you want to unmute your line, you can ask your question.
Yeah, how you doing, Doc? Welcome to Philadelphia.
Thank you.
The first question, you're talking about you love the pieces here. Talk about Ben and Joel. First of all, Ben switched to power forward late in the season. Do you want to play him at the one? And then, right now, he's a good point guard, but he's shy a little bit when it comes down to shooting the ball. Joel likes shooting from the perimeter. How do you plan on utilizing those two guys?
Well, the first thing I do is get in the gym a little longer to give you that answer. But the second part is this. They've won 65% of the games that they've played in, right? So it clearly works when they play together. If you've watched my teams, I rarely say to the guys a one or two. I don't get lost in the minutia. I don't get lost in what position guys play. I look at how many points we score as a team. I don't care how we score. My teams have always been very good offensively in the top 5 overall, and we score points. And we score points in a lot of different ways. We got Ben that can score points. We have Joel. We have Tobias. We have Shake. We have Josh. This team's loaded with talent, and we just got to figure out how to make it work the best. But I still go back to just looking at the numbers. When those two play together, they win 65% of the games that they play in. That's a good thing.
Thank you.
Next, we'll turn it over to John Clark. John, you can unmute your line.
Hey, Doc. Welcome to Philadelphia.
Oh, thank you.
When you see the roster that you have, and Brett Brown talked about it was a tough challenge to play Joel Embiid and Al Horford together and find the spacing on the court. Do you think you can start Joel and Al together, or will Al probably have to come off the bench?
I don't know that yet. I will say this, at some point, they'll absolutely have to play together, But I can't tell you what my starting lineup is going to be on the first day of my job. I just need more time for that. I'll tell you this. We're going to put out whatever unit we think is best to help us win. And that's just not to start the game. That's through the game. It's a 48-minute game. And so there'll be a lot of lineups and rotations that we put out on the floor, and that will keep changing. And we'll keep working at it until we get the right lineup.
Next, we'll turn it over to Derek Bodner. Derek, you can go ahead.
Hey, Doc. My question revolves around leadership. Is it necessary for your best players to also be vocal leaders? Is that something you can grow? And what are sort of the struggles or things you have to overcome if that's not the case?
Well, I guess a two-part answer. You got to be who you are, and leadership doesn't have to be vocal. It has to be by example. And, as a player, I played with Patrick Ewing, who most of you guys remember. Wasn't a big talker, but he was a phenomenal leader, and he led by example. So I want everyone to lead in that way, not just Joe and Ben. I want everybody to lead as far as their example as far as work. We'll find out who the vocal leaders are. We'll find out sometimes if the best player is not that. You do have to support them. Sometimes the coach has to get involved in that. Sometimes there's another voice. But we just want all voices to be credible, and that's what we're going to work on.
Let's turn it over to Tom Moore. Tom, you can go ahead and unmute Tom.
Okay. Hey, Doc, how are you? First time I talked to you was 30 years ago. You were playing in Atlanta, and I was doing a story on Mo Cheeks, and you said he was your all-time favorite player.
Yeah, he was.
I was just wondering if everybody knows about the championship in 2008, but is there a particular accomplishment, another accomplishment that's particularly meaningful that maybe people don't know a lot about, such as beating LeBron, being the last Eastern team to beat LeBron and prevent him from going to the finals in 2010? Is there something that sticks out on your resume?
There's several things. I would say my first year as a coach with the Magic, with the team that, I think Sports Illustrated picked to break the Sixers record, actually, now that I think about it, for losses. And we go 500. Last year's team in L.A., when we trade Tobias and we trade half our team away, and people just thought we gave up on the season, and we still make the playoffs. So those are enjoyable teams as well. But, obviously when you coach a championship team, that will always be your favorite because you did something that very few people can do.
Reminder to everyone to please remain on mute for the duration of the call until you're called on. Let's go to Kyle Neubeck next.
Hey, Doc. So you've worked with a pretty wide spectrum of big men in your career. Obviously, Kevin Garnett, one of the most prominent guys, DeAndre Jordan in LA, and so on. How much of the lessons that you've learned from coaching guys like that can you apply to Joel, and how much of it is just, he's kind of his own entity, that he's unique from what you've done or people you worked with in the past?
I would say it's probably a combination of both. Joel is an amazing talent. Having coached Kevin Garnett and just different guys, DJ, Kendrick Perkins, there's just so many different levels of bigs. And in this generation, that level has even changed even more now that they're out shooting threes and in some cases even running the offenses of teams. I think Joel can do all those things. Watching him on film the last couple of days is exciting. I can tell you that. I remember a game, I think it was 3 years ago in L.A., that he came in and had a dominant performance. I think he is a dominant big man and will be a dominant big man for me.
Next, we're going to turn it over to Kai Carlin with Sixers Wire.
Hey, what's going on, Doc?
Hey, what's up?
There was a lot of talk during Brett's final season here about the word accountability.
Yeah.
I wanted to get your opinion on whether accountability is like an overrated thing when it comes to a pro sports team. And when it comes on to that, is that more on the coach or is that more on players?
Accountability is key. And, Brett did a great job. I want to start there, all right? Just a great guy, did a hell of a job. But as far as accountability, it is on the players, but it has to start somewhere, and it has to start with the coaching staff. It has to start upstairs in the front office. It has to start in the training room. Accountability has to be throughout your team. and throughout each single player. So it's a big word. You know, it's a word that if you don't do it, you're not going to win. But we have to be accountable to each other every single day. That's the only way we're going to be successful here.
Thanks, Coach.
Up next is Tim Bontemps with ESPN.
Doc, I was curious. You were out of work for about 5 minutes, I think, between jobs, and
just filling out my report. Just never finished.
You, I think this is. I want to say this is like 16 or 17 years in a row of coaching the league, and a lot of people in your position would have maybe taken a year to kind of get a lay of the land. I was curious, what caused you to want to jump back in immediately and join the Sixers and go right back into coaching again?
Yeah, it's actually 20 straight years, that I've started training camp, or 21 now, I think. I love coaching. I absolutely love it. But I was not going to just coach anybody. I can tell you that. I was ready to take a break, and it just depended on the team that was available. And if I thought that team, in my opinion, was ready to win, that excited me. And, when Elton called, it was an easy get on a plane and take a look for me. And just when you look at these players, these young players, and their potential, the fact that they've had, so much success in some ways at the ages that they are already, and where I believe they can go, for me is a job you just couldn't turn down. And that's why I'm here. Just really excited about it.
Pass it over to Dan Gelston with the Associated Press.
Hi, Doc. At the end of the season, Elton said that the collaborative approach in the front office the Sixers had didn't work. Has he explained to you how that might change now that you're on board? And as someone who had an executive title before, how involved do you think you'll be in the decision-making going forward?
Well, we'll work together. That's one of the things that was so exciting about this job, to have that opportunity with Elton. I think we have a chance to build something great here, not just on the court. I actually think it actually starts off the court, and we have to get that part right. So that's exciting. I think Elton and I will have a chance to form an amazing partnership together, and we'll grow from there.
Next, we'll kick it to Jabari Young with CNBC.
Doc, thanks, Rob. Doc, in August 23rd, 1999, it was a quote in Sports Illustrated, and it said, from you, winning is safe, but if you want to be a winner, it means stepping out of your comfort zone. How are you going to step out of your comfort zone, and how are you going to get your two-star players to step out of theirs if you guys want to not win, but be a winner?
Oh, it's a great question. I'm always changing. I'm always looking for different staff. I don't think you can ever stop growing as a coach or as a person. And it's a fact. If we're going to win, you just can't keep doing what you've always done and think you're going to get different results. You have to do something different. You have to give yourself to the team. You have to give something up. I talk about it often about, putting a deposit into the bank. And so at some point, you can make a withdrawal. So that's giving up something. I think every single player is going to have to do that. We all have to. That's the only way you can win. You have to give up yourself. I'm willing to do that, and I'm hoping my players will be willing to do that as well.
We'll go to next to Mark Narducci with the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Doc, Tobias Harris played for you before and did a great job. Could you talk about, maybe the excitement of coaching him, what you see as his strengths and how to utilize him best?
Yeah, I loved him. I love coaching him. I like that he's a multi-positional player. He's a big three. He's a quick four. That's how we used him a lot in LA. We kept moving him back and forth to different spots. I love his shot. Has a great in-between game, which is sometimes lost in today's game. And I think he's a terrific straight-line driver. And you have to just put him in the positions for him to do that. With us, we put him in more pick and rolls, I think, than he'd ever been in his entire life. And we had some success with that. And, pick and rolls to me are about combinations. If you put the two combinations together, you create problems defensively for the other team. And Tobias can do that. So I'm really looking forward to working with him again.
Turn it over to Michael Lee with The Athletic. Mike, you can go ahead and unmute.
Oh, okay. Hey, Doc, welcome to Philly. Have you had much time to reflect on what went wrong with the Clippers this year? I know there's a lot of expectations with that team. And are you more of a forward mover and you did try not to look back, or have you had time to kind of reflect on why it didn't turn out to be what a lot of people expected?
Well, I do both. I'm always a guy that looks forward. I think you have to keep it going and keep moving. But you also have to look back and look at what happened if something didn't happen the way. I mean, this year, let's just start with COVID. This has been a tough year for everybody. The bubble is not a normal experience, but I'm glad it's an experience that the NBA created. Without it, we wouldn't be crowning the champion this year. So, as far as what went wrong, we had a 3-1 lead and didn't. I love that we got up 3-1. It tells us that we're doing something great. What I didn't like is we didn't close. And, that's something that I do evaluate and look at. And it's something that will bother me for a long time until we win here. And then you move on. That's the move on part.
Let's go to Lauren Rosen with Sixers.com.
Doc, I am curious about what the last week logistically has been like for you. I'm sure it's been a whirlwind. And I'm wondering if you could just walk us through sort of the steps from, I don't know, a week ago to today.
It's been crazy. Steve and I have had a lot of talks about the direction of the team. And finally, we decided that me staying there, that it was time to take a step away. Then literally, and I'm not exaggerating, within 5 hours of that news getting out, Lonnie Cooper, my agent, called and said there were 3 teams that wanted to talk. That day I said, I'm good right now, I need a day. And I just needed a day to just, gather myself. And then Lonnie and I talked. We narrowed it down to a couple of teams. And the first team that I wanted to talk to was here in Philadelphia. And truth be told, mainly because of what they have on the floor, with all the players that they have, meeting the ownership group and talking to them, talking to Elton. After meeting those guys, I just thought it was a terrific fit for me. The decision from that point, once they decided they wanted me, I had to make the decision, do I want to do that? Because you got to jump full. You got to jump all the way in. And so this week I've been back and forth several times already, back and forth to LA to Philly, LA to Philly. It's been a heck of a week. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'll put it that way.
Next, we'll pass it to Pat Gallen with CBS 3. Pat, you can go ahead and unmute.
Doc, welcome to Philly. You've spent a lot of time around superstars during your time in the league. What have you learned about coaching that kind of talent with those personalities, and how can you use what you've sort of accumulated over the years to bring that here when working with Ben and Joel?
Man, I've learned a lot. They're all different. Every single one of them are different. They do have several traits that are similar. Work ethic is one. But you have to treat them. You have to hold them accountable, because the more accountable they will be with you and towards you, the more accountable you can hold the rest of the team. And I think that's one of the key things when you're coaching stars. This misnomer that stars don't want to be coaches is not true. I think stars absolutely want to be coached. They want to get better. They want to learn as well. We have 2 young ones here in Philadelphia that has already had success. So my job is to add to that and to try to get them and take them a place that they've not been. They've done a lot of winning, but we want to be the winner. Winning is great, but being the winner is the best, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Next, we're going to go to Howard Eskin with WIP.
Doc, you've talked about players kind of doing some things that would take to win. Brett Brown tried to get Ben Simmons to shoot a three. Okay, I'll live without that. However, what do you do to get him to just shoot a 15-foot jump shot? How do you approach that?
You know, Howard, I don't know yet. I'm not that concerned by it like everyone else is. I really am not. I'm concerned about figuring out the best way to win, and how that, if it takes doing all that, then we're going to figure that out. Again, I'm so much more concerned about team scoring than I am about individual scoring. Individuals can create scoring, right? And Ben has proven that he is a guy that can create scoring, whether that's him doing it or him creating scoring for anyone else on the team. But this is what I know about Ben. He's an all-star. He's an all-defensive player. In the games that him and Joel have played together, they win 65% of the time. So I don't see a lot of bad there. I'm sure, listen, he's young, and I'm sure there's things that we're going to work on and get him better at, attacking. But I can't tell you yet how I'm going to do that. I just have confidence that we can get this team into a winning and being the winner.
Thank you.
Next, let's go to Paul Hudrick.
Hey, Doc. Welcome to Philly. Just wanted to ask, you mentioned that you've watched some film. I'm curious if you've watched some of the young guys like Matisse Thybulle and Shake Milton, and what you see for them in their futures and what their roles can be for you in Philly.
Yeah, again, I don't know the roles yet. I mean, it's just so early to be talking about roles. I've talked to most of the guys. I talked to Matisse last night on the phone, Shake last night. I've obviously talked to Joel and Al and Ben. And, you know, I just love, let's start with Matisse. He is an NBA all-defensive player now. Like, he has a chance right now to make a difference defensively. You know, offensively will be his next step, and we'll work on that, all right? Shake, the only thing I told Shake, if he could play like he played against us in L.A., then I don't need to say another word to him. I mean, he was phenomenal in that game. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, I don't know if Ben or Joel played in that game, and I'm not even sure. I just remember Shake almost single-handedly beating us, and from that point on, he took off. So I just love that he's not scared to take the shot. I love players like that, and I think he'll do well under me.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Noah Levick with NBC Sports Philadelphia. Noah, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hey, Doc. So load management, obviously a reality of the modern NBA, something you've navigated recently, especially in this situation with someone like Joel. How do you successfully balance all the factors related to load management?
You know, you listen. You really do. You pay attention to your staff. You pay attention to your players, and then you just figure it out. And that's load management is so individual based. You know, it's not team based. You know, every individual has a limit, right? And so we'll figure that out. You know, Ben, when healthy, seems to play more games right now. Joel, it seems like he's gradually upticking, which is a good thing. You know, it's not just that, it's minutes, it's practice time. You know, it encompasses a lot of stuff. And every team has to deal with it, and we'll have to deal with it here, and we'll probably figure it out.
Okay, next to Mike Sealski with the Inquirer.
Hi, Doc. I wanted to kind of follow up on that. Your championship team with Boston, you had 3 guys who played at least 71 games and averaged at least 33 minutes. And you had 4 guys who played at least 71 and averaged 30. Now, this past year, obviously, you're dealing with load management. What has changed over time in the league? I mean, do you feel this is a good development, a bad development? You know, what happened so that to get to this point where you have to be so cognizant about how much guys play?
You know, that part I can't answer. I do think it's a good development. I think there's a happy medium like that you have to meet. I will say there's years that I felt like I was on the wrong side of that. There's years that I felt like I was on the positive side of that. And I think you just have to find the rhythm of your team each year along with the science, you know. I think you have to do both. And, you know, I do think it's good, though. I think it's a good thing. Have you seen me walk? I walk like that because there was no load management. So I'm hoping that it's better for all these guys. Because I do believe in the long run, it'll keep them healthier longer and fresher longer, especially if you're going to make a deep run, which I hope we do.
Next, we're going to go to Kristen Rogers with Fox 29. Kristen, you could go ahead and unmute.
Hey, Doc, welcome to Philadelphia. You've mentioned some of the conversations you've had already with Matisse, with Shake, obviously with Tobias and Joel and Ben. Can you let us in on what some of those conversations are now, what you want to tell those guys as you lay the foundation here?
Well, I'm obviously not going to give you the deep conversational part, but I can tell you this. We got into talking about winning immediately with each one of them and the expectations of that. Let's just say, without going too deep into that, and that I'm going to need them to buy in and buy in together as a group. And more, it was more just, you know, a typical introduction conversation where, you know, just letting them know some of the things that I'll be looking for from them. But other than that, it was just a normal conversation that you would have if you called somebody that you didn't know to introduce yourself. It was more of that than anything else. I can't wait to, you know, get on the court. I tell you what's tough, you know, with COVID and the season, not knowing when the season's going to start, it makes things a little more difficult. It does. And so we'll have to figure all that out.
We're going to next go to Dave Murphy with the Inquirer.
Hey, Doc, welcome to Philly. Two of the big glaring kind of downfalls with this team in the postseason were lack of a kind of secondary ball handler to complement Ben, and then just shooting across the board and shooting out of two-way players. When you look at this team, do you see a team that right now is a complete team? If not, do you have an idea of what would make this a complete team? And do you think you can complete this team given all those things?
Well, just from years of experience, there's no such thing as a complete team. There really isn't. Every team has flaws. I watched the game last night with two teams that are in the finals, and if you wanted to, you can pick both teams' flaws. Every team has them. They just do. And for me, I've always had the ability to play around those. You know, I don't get stuck on them. I don't get stuck on what you can't do as a group. You know, I spent a lot of time with Red Auerbach, who used to tell me and drill it in my head, if they can't do it, don't do it. You know, stay away from it, do something else, create an action. You know, if you're not a great shooting team, create more movement, increase your speed, play from different spots. So, yeah, I don't think this is a bad shooting team. It's, you know, you look at, I think they were 9th in field goal percentage from the three last year. So they have proven they can make shots. I want to increase the pace, I can tell you that, with this team. And this team, we have to get them in the top 10 in offense. And last year we were not. And so we have to figure that out, you know, and how to do that. And again, I haven't been around long enough to see that. I'll talk to a lot of coaches that were here in the past, and I'll talk to, you know, bring in a new staff, and we'll all figure it out.
Thank you. Guys, we're going to have time for two more questions, starting with Dan Koo with CBS 3.
Hey, Doc, welcome to town. Congratulations. Sort of along the same line, there's been a big emphasis throughout the league on going small. Meanwhile, this organization has put a premium on size. So sort of along the same line, what sort of tweaks do you think need to be done to this roster in order to modernize it?
Well, I think you have to be who you are. You know, the Lakers didn't worry about going small. They actually went bigger. I think the mistake a lot of teams have made is everyone wanted to be Golden State, but no one could shoot like Golden State. So to me, everyone made a mistake. You have to be the best version of you and not apologize for that. This team has great size, great athleticism, great multi-positional players. So I think that is new. I think that is the new way. I think what I do like from again from afar is this team has the ability to morph in 3 or 4 different lineups that can create problems for other teams. And that's something we will definitely do here.
For our last question, we're going to hand it over to Vince Goodwill with Yahoo Sports. Go ahead, Vince.
Hey, Doc, congrats on the job. Towards the end of the situation with the Clippers, there were so many rumors of players not getting along and, things happening on the floor. You don't seem to be afraid of that. So how much conflict do you believe is healthy on a team, especially a young team that you're taking over?
Whatever it takes, there's no smooth sailings, people assume in 2008 we just glided through. That didn't happen. There's conflict happens and you deal with it. And it's whatever the conflict, that whatever it takes, it's worth it, is the answer to get through it. You have to get through it. You have to meet it head on. You have to play your way through it, talk your way through it, and be together through it. And so I've never been afraid of that at all.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Elton. That'll conclude our press conference for today. We just want to say thank you for everybody that joined and appreciate it. Have a good week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.